Hi, this video, boys and girls, is going to be on finding area of squares, rectangles, and parallelograms. Now, the thing about squares and rectangles and parallelograms is that we find the area the same way. When we are finding the area is the small squares it takes to cover a shape. When we're finding area, we're finding how many little tiny, or not little tiny, they could be big squares, but how many squares it takes. So that's important to remember because when we're finding area, we always find it in square units, square inches, and we write it with a little 2. Centimeters, feet, so whether it's square feet, square centimeters, square inches, square miles, we always write area as in squares because you're finding how many little squares. So if you're told this is 5 inches and this is 7 inches, we can show 5 inches going down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we can show 7 inches going across. Then if I were to take the time to count every single one of these little inches, little square inches, I would find that gives me a total of 35 inches squared. Where do you notice about that 35 with our 5 and our 7? That's right. 5 times 7 does in fact give me 35. The formula for finding the area of squares, rectangles, and parallelograms is length times width. So it's fairly easy. Now what I'm going to show you, or we're going to review one of a square because that was a rectangle. But what happens, so remember, length times width. What happens if you're told this is a square, because they don't try to trick you, they'll always tell you it's a square, and you're told that this is 4 feet. Well, what do you know about squares? You should know that if the top is 4, then a side is 4. And based on what we just did, you should know that you just have to multiply them together, and 4 times 4 gives you 16 feet squared. And that's how we find area. Now the last thing that we're going to look at is parallelograms and how they are exactly the same. You notice squares have 4 sides. Rectangles have 4 sides. Parallelograms have 4 sides. They're all in the same family, so you find them the same. And I have this little demonstration to show you why. What shape do you see of the purple? The rectangle, right? Well, if I simply remove this and move it over here, what shape do I have now? A parallelogram. Now, did I add anything to that? Did I take anything away? I didn't. It's the exact same area. If I take this and I draw my lines, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we'll call them centimeters. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll call them centimeters. So you know what is the area of this shape? 35 centimeters squared. And it doesn't matter if they are in this or if you cut and move this, it would still take 35 small squares, whether I am here or here. Rectangles and parallelograms, you find the area the same way because a parallelogram is simply a rearranged rectangle. It is simply a rearranged rectangle. I am not adding to, I am not taking away. It is the exact same amount of area. When I had it as a rectangle, and I had 7 times 5 to get 35, or as I have it as a parallelogram, which is 7 times 5, I would still have it be 35. So now let's look at what that might look like if you were given a parallelogram. This is how it'll be given to you. They'll give you the length and the width, and they'll tell you this is 9 inches and this is 11 inches. So how do we do it? It's a parallelogram. It's the same thing as a rectangle. Nice and easy. You just multiply them together. 9 times 11 gives you 99 inches. But is that an acceptable answer? Not yet. It's an area, so it's in small squares, so it's inches squared. So the most important thing for us to remember is that parallelograms, squares, and rectangles, all you have to do is length times width, and it's in squares. Review the video as many times as you need.